Today on Armchair Operator Guns and Gear Reviews, we're going to take a look at a super rare gun. Now, I guarantee you this gun is going to be something that you don't really see a whole lot nowadays. We're going to take a look at the Caspian Arms 1911 chambered in 45 ACP with the Gilmore Master Series Red Leader optic. Let's get into it.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love.
What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the Armchair Operator, and welcome to today's program. Now, if you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. I hope you find this information useful, maybe even a little bit entertaining. And if you're coming back to the channel, thank you so much. I humbly appreciate y'all coming back and taking the time to sit down with your boy as I talk about these products. All right. So again, like I said in the intro, we want to take a look at a gun that you don't really see a whole lot of out there. I mean, I've never seen it before, honestly, until I saw this particular model. Now, granted, everybody's seen 1911s. You know, you see them, they a dime a dozen. But this particular 1911 is different, and we're going to talk about it today. So as I said in the intro, we're going to look at the Caspian Arms 1911 chambered in 45 ACP, and it comes with, well, it doesn't come with, but this particular gun has the Gilmore Master Series Red Leader optic. Now, believe it or not, this big old gigantic looking thing is a red dot. This is not a prism. This is not an LPVO. It has no magnification. This big thing is a red dot. All right, so before we get into all that, first I want to give a shout out to my bro Joker 1016, who actually provided the gun for this review. So big ups to you, homie. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. All right, so just really quickly, this particular gun, like I said, is a 1911. Now, from the research that I was able to find online, Caspian Arms is essentially a custom, they're a custom parts manufacturer for custom 1911s. And they've been in business probably close to 41 years now. I think they were founded in 1983. And pretty much what they do is they make 1911 style components like slides, barrels, frames, triggers, like sears, the whole 9 yards, and they basically ship the components to gunsmiths for final assembly. So what I get from that is people put in like custom orders to have their 1911s built by Caspian Arms. So they don't really, at least from what I was able to find out, they don't really have like set fully assembled firearms that they would sell, like for example, like a staccato or something like that. You know what I mean? They don't have different models, or even Nighthawk. Now Nighthawk is like a higher tier, more so hand fitted 1911 style, but even they have like their own different models. This particular company, from what I was able to tell, I haven't seen any actually pre-built guns. So that's one of the reasons why you don't really see these out there like that. At least I haven't. But I mean, they're still in business. They're still doing their thing. And this particular gun is a product of their engineering. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the tabletop like I usually do. Just go over the pistol real quick, take a look at the features, talk about what I like, what I dislike, and all that, and then we just going to talk about how it ran on the range for me, and we're going to close it out. All right, y'all, so without further ado, let's head on over to the tabletop, and let's take a more in-depth look at the Caspian Arms 1911. All right, y'all, here we are in our review space with the Caspian Arms 1911. First thing we're going to do is, first thing I always do, we're going to verify clear. So we're going to drop the magazine. Magazine is empty, and not sure if you can see that, but the firearm is clear, and we are filming in a safe and controlled environment. There isn't any live ammunition anywhere in the review space. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about this interesting gun. So, like I said, this is a custom built gun, and as you can see, this particular gun was set up for racing. this rail section here is something that you see like on a lot of your race pistols, right? And also we have ourselves a 2-chamber brake on the end. I don't know if you can see that, 1 chamber, 2 chamber. Okay, this is a 5-inch, 5-inch barrel, standard 1911 style, at least as far as the slide goes. And as you can see, this particular firearm was made without a front sight, so they made this to be optics ready. I don't know how old the pistol is, but I would imagine this is something from probably the 90s. And I believe the Gilmore red dots are from that period as well. Speaking of red dots, let's talk about this thing. So first of all, as you can see, this damn thing is huge, man. If I didn't know any better, I probably could see every single moon of both Saturn and Jupiter with this damn red dot. But even though it's a big dot, the dot is actually pretty clear. Now, from what I was able to gather, Gilmore this particular style of red dot was marketed underneath loophole for a period of time. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't think so. And I believe this particular dot was made sometime in maybe the mid to late 90s or somewhere in that period. Now, it has a 4 MOA dot. Now, at the top here, we have the control, okay? And underneath here, if I want to unscrew that, you would see the battery. This particular dot takes a CR2032 standard battery we find anywhere, and it has 11 brightness settings. So let me just turn it on right now, see if you can see that giant dot. So it looks like it's about a 4 MOA dot. And one thing I will say, that the dot is actually very clear in this. So that's really cool. I mean, with this large of a window, there's no way in hell you missing that dot. There's no way. But I don't know if it's coming up well on the camera, but that's a nice big dot. And actually, it's very easy for your eye to pick that dot up when you have this pistol on the range. So I do like that. I like the fact that it's clear and it's easy to see. So all right, so we're going to turn it off. So let's try to go through the various brightness settings. If you can see that, we are on number 1. I can barely see it here, so I doubt if the camera can pick it up. So we're going to go number 2, number 3, number 4, 5. And we're just going to keep going up. So it's getting progressively brighter and brighter. Knob is a little difficult to turn, but not really. This is only really because how I'm actually holding the thing at the moment. And we are on brightness level 8. That's 9. That's 10. And that's the max setting, which is 11. And then we just turn that guy off. All right, being as though that this is an old school red dot, it does, at least as far as I know, it does not have any of that modern shake awake technology or go to sleep. So one thing to keep in mind, if you have a dot like this, after you're done, turn it off. Otherwise, you will kill the battery. Ask me how I know. Sorry, bro, but at least I got a new battery in there for you. So there's that. Moving right along, let's look at the pistol. So as you can see, like I said, there's no front sight, and where there should be a rear sight, we actually have what looks like a charging handle that actually sits in the dovetail. So I don't know if you can see that. Like they got a couple of set screws in there, and they have it screwed inside of the slide. So if I wanted to detach the red dot from this rail, all I have to do is just unscrew these, and the actual red dot with the clamps will come off. And of course, if you want to take the clamps off, you just take those screws out like you would do for any other tube-based optic that we see out there today. Now, one thing I will say about this particular arrangement, with these little charging handles, it can be a bit uncomfortable to draw it back, but it's not a problem. And as you can see, the action of this thing is actually really slick. Like, I mean, you won't be air. I mean, I don't know if I know for a fact that I can't air rack it. Maybe there's somebody out there who can, but personally, I don't think it's smooth enough to air rack. But it's actually pretty doggone smooth all its own. And of course, it being a 1911 is single action only. All right, we got front and rear slide serrations, which are cool. The only problem is you really with this rail or bracket, whatever you call this, with this on the firearm, you can't really get to it. You can get to the ones in the back, kind of, but really, it's just easier just to do that. And I guess that's why whoever had it before wanted this installed on the gun. And obviously, clearly, this thing was set up for racing. So from there, we're going to move down. We got our standard slide stop, which by the way, that kind of brings me to my next thought. But so, all right. So one thing about this gun that I've noticed, it doesn't give you lock back after you clear the magazine every single time, which was actually one of those things that a lot of the older school 1911 race pistols and your double stack 1911 race pistols, that's something that they pretty much dealt with all the time. I've had moments where this particular gun would lock back properly, and a lot of times it didn't. And as you saw when we verified clear, even though the magazine was inserted in the gun, it didn't do it. So that's just one of those things. See, as you can see, and it's fully inserted too. It's fully inserted, but there's no lockback. So that's just one of the things that was actually pretty common amongst a lot of those older style handguns. All right, so let's see what we got. We got ambidextrous safety. Okay, the safeties are not large. Okay, so they don't really get in the way, but you can get enough of a purchase to get your thumb down on there per normal. We got ourselves a nice rounded ring style hammer here. And we have basically your standard 1911 style trigger shoe, which by the way is aluminum. So let's go ahead and ghost the trigger. All right, so verify clear. All right, so that's about all the take up you get. And that's a break. And the release, that's it. On my trigger gauge is coming in around 4 pounds, and it feels actually pretty nice. Pretty nice break, nice tactile reset. You could tell that this particular gun was built for racing at the time it was made. You know what I mean? For its time, I'll put it like that. All right, so now let's look at the grip. So we got our magazine release, of course. You know, it works fine, no issues there. Okay, and we have, instead of like your standard 1911 grips, we basically have skateboard tape. So I don't know if the person who originally ordered this particular configuration back in the day ordered it to have skateboard tape as opposed to standard 1911 grip panels. I don't really have the answer to that question, but this particular gun has skateboard tape and it does the job very well, I might add. As you can see, the Caspian Arms logo here. We got our grip safety. Memory pad is not very big, but I didn't really have any trouble with the grip safety when I was actually running this particular gun on the range. So that's cool. Now, let's actually take a look at the magazine. But before we do, look at the bottom of the frame here. I don't know if you can see that. So this particular gun kind of has its own built-in magwell, because you see you got that little lip right there, right, on both sides, and it flares out a bit. So that's actually cool because it really allows you to, gives your hand a little bit more to bite into. That being said, let's look at the magazine real quick. So this is the magazine. This is a 10 round 45 magazine. This is the first time that I've seen a 10 round 45 magazine that kind of looks like this. When I first saw it, I thought it was a double stack. Like a true double stack 1911, it probably holds 16 rounds. Well, this is a 10 round magazine. And this is actually not a double stack 1911 frame. This to me is like, it is a slightly wider than a single stack 1911 frame. So I actually thought that was pretty neat, and that's the first time that I have ever seen this. I'm sure a lot of y'all long timers have seen it, but this is the first time I've seen it. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting. But I mean, as far as that goes, that's basically it as far as the features of the particular gun itself. Like I said, we talked about the comp here, and it's definitely removable. I am not going to remove it. Oh, by the way, speaking of the barrel, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but this particular 1911 has a bushing. So this is not a bushingless 1911. And judging from the looks of that guide rod, you'll need a tool to take it down. Looks like it might be a two-piece guide rod, but I have not disassembled the gun, so don't quote me on that. Oh, see, look, see? Now we got lock back. Go figure. Anyway, now that we've talked about that, let's talk about how it handled for me on the range. So when I broke my first shot, two things that I noticed right away: how good the trigger feels, as well as how good the action of the gun feels. It's really nice and slick. Pretty much what you would expect from a custom built 1911. Now, that being said, the gun was a bit quirky for me on the range. Now, I don't know if it's the fact that the pistol wasn't taken down and thoroughly cleaned and lubricated, which is something that you kind of want to do with a 1911, especially an older 1911. Or if it's just like, I'm not really exactly sure what it was, but we did have some issues. Had a couple light strikes, had some failures to feed, and so on and so forth. And I did put a little slip 2000 on the gun before I ran it. But even with its quirks, it's a soft shooting 45. No doubt due to the fact that, one, it has that, I said it was a break on the end. I apologize for that. The comp that it has installed on the end, the tube chamber comp, okay, and the heft of the gun. So it's a very well shooting gun. I mean, hell, it was configured to be a race gun. And I could actually see that for a 45, you could actually really rattle off some really good quick shots with this particular gun, even though it's a 45. Now, me personally, if it was my pistol, as much as I like the red dot, the red leader, and how clear and crisp that big old red dot is, I would take that off. The main reason why I would take the red leader off and put a smaller dot on it, just to make it easier so that I could manipulate the charging handles. Because as you can see, this is a pretty big housing, okay? And then you got these two little small charging handles. So if you're looking to go for speed, if you want to do a speed rack or whatever the case may be, a smaller, like more space up here would make that a lot easier. So another thing that I would do, I mean, personally, I would also get the top of the slide milled and put a front sight on there. I am just one of those people who prefers to have a backup. I know a lot of competition shooters just particularly run red dot only guns, and you can see that this was a thing even back in the day. But I just like to have the backup sights just in case, because you never know. You'd be in the middle of a match, if your dot breaks or whatever reason, your battery goes out, you don't have an extra battery, you're pretty much up shit's creek at that point. So, but all in all, the gun shoots well. If it's cleaned and well maintained, just like any 1911, I have no doubt that it would run like a top. So all in all, the Caspian Arms 1911 is not a double stack, but it's a 10-round gun. It is a very interesting gun. It is a very well shooting gun. And honestly, I like it. It's a nice rare pistol. So again, shout out to my boy Joker 1016 for providing a gun for this review. So that being said, what do you guys think about the Caspian Arms 1911? Have you ever heard of Caspian Arms? Do you have any experience with their products? Did you ever reach out to them to have them build some of your race rigs or race 1911s, whatever the case may be? Whatever the case, let me know down in them comments, and let's get this discussion popping. I would love to hear from you all about the Caspian Arms 1911 or even the red leader. When I tell you it was hard trying to find information about that damn red dot, I am not kidding. Just going through forum posts and so on and so forth, because you could tell that it's old, right? But I'm just trying to find some information. I mean, it looks cool. It definitely, as a whole package, looks like something that was out of the very first Terminator movie. If y'all remember that, Arnold had picked up a 1911 from the gun store. Granted, it didn't have this kind of an optic, but it gave me that feel when I first looked at it. So, like I said, it's a cool gun. And let me know what y'all think about the Caspian Arms 1911 and this video down in the comments. And I'm going to end it here, y'all. As always, thank you so much for watching. This is your boy, and I'm out. Peace.